Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name is Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, we're going to be taking a look at a brand new supporter card coming out in the Pokemon trading card game. Now, it's not actually coming out in the main set in Japan. It's one of the few exclusive cards coming out in the Umbreon and Darkrai and Deoxys and Espeon decks. But we know that those two Tag Team GXs are coming out in Unified Minds, so although this isn't confirmed for Unified Minds, I think it is extremely likely, extraordinarily likely, that this will be coming out in Unified Minds. So, it is Hapu, and look, the Sun and Moon video games came out in November 2016. That was 3 years ago. Hapu is a not insignificant character in those games, so the fact that it's taken 3 years to get a Hapu card should in and of itself be a little bit weird. Hey-ho. So we're finally getting a Hapu. What does it do? Well, I actually did translate this myself using Google Translate. It was fairly easy, but I did check with a lovely Joe from Cerebi.net just in case. And he did confirm I was right, which was lovely. And what this does is you look at the top 6 cards of your deck, you put any 2 of those cards into your hand, and you discard the other 4. I know, right? High risk, high reward. And for those of you that have been playing for a few years, this should remind you of an old card, Sage's Training, which was very similar. Sage's Training, you looked at the top 5 cards of your deck, you put 2 into your hand and discarded the other 3. And there was a weird thing where, like, 100% of the time, when you played Sage's Training, you ended up discarding another Sage's Training. Don't ask me why, that's just the way it always worked out. So here, the fact that you're looking at 6 rather than 5 is very much the proverbial double-edged sword. Because on the one hand, you get to look at an extra card. So if you're digging to try and get a particular card, you get to look at an extra card that's good. On the other hand, you have to discard an extra card. And that can be very, very bad. If you're playing something like Zeb Striker, and with stuff like Oranguru rotating out, I do expect a lot more Zeb Striker next format, you've got to discard your entire hand to draw 4 cards. The thing is, you can always make that determination as to whether it's worth it or not. You can always look at your hand and go, this is worth it, or hang on a second, I'm not willing to do this, I've got too many good cards in my hand. The problem is, if you play Hapu, and you look at the top 6 cards of your deck, and there are 4 cards you cannot do without, gutted, ladies and gentlemen, absolutely gutted, because you can only take 2 of them, you've got to discard the rest. And I think one of my favourite, I'm not saying this is the only use here, or the only example, but I think the best example of this we can look at is Triple Acceleration Energy. You see, Triple Acceleration Energy is a phenomenal card. It came out in Unbroken Bonds, and you can attach it to an Evolved Pokemon, and what you do is you get free colourless energy. But it gets discarded at the end of your turn. But we don't really care. Free colourless energy to any evolution Pokemon is phenomenal. In a format where we're not going to have double colourless energy, this is great. And there are so many cards lately where I've basically told you, look, it wouldn't be good, but with Triple Acceleration Energy, it's great. So we looked at a new Dragonite GX the other day. It does 270 damage for 5 energy. That's a lot. That's almost prohibitive. But then, of course, you use Triple Acceleration Energy, and all of a sudden, it's not 5 energy, it's free energy. And free energy, ladies and gentlemen, is eminently payable. It's wonderful. We looked at Slacking the other day. Slacking can do 200 damage as an on-GX. Oh, it's for 4 energy, that's a bit much. But no! 2 energy along with this. And to be honest, I adore Tapu Koko with things like this. You can accelerate 2 energy, 1 to each of 2 bench Pokemon, and then they basically become single energy attachments with Triple Acceleration Energy, and yes. Absolutely yes. All of the yes. So triple acceleration energy is great, but it's really hard to search. We've even lost Energy Lotto. It's really hard to get it out. You can use Macago, but you might not be playing it. And you can use Red's Challenge, but you've got to discard 2 cards from your hand. It's your supporter card for the turn, and you only get to grab 1 card. It's great, but it's not unmitigatedly great. It's not unreservedly great. It's just pretty gosh darn good. So a lot of the time we need something else. So in comes Hapu. You look at the top 6 cards of your deck, and if there's a triple acceleration energy, you can grab it. But you also get to grab another card as well. But what happens if you play a Hapu and you're met with 4 triple acceleration energy? It's going to happen. It is definitely going to happen if you play this card enough. Well, that's really bad. Because you've got to discard 2 of them. There's no if, buts, or maybes here, ladies and gentlemen. 2 of them are going down. You don't have no choice. This was the biggest issue with Sage's training, and it's the biggest issue with Hapu. Here's the thing, though. Sage's training saw a lot of play. And this is in a format where we had Professor Juniper, think Sycamore, and we had Professor Oak's new theory. It still saw a lot of play. Why did it see so much play? Because it's really aggressive. Because you could search for a rare candy and a stage 2 quite nicely. Because you didn't have to discard your hand. Because a lot of the time you don't want to discard your hand. And look, you're going to know what's in your hand. You're going to know what's remaining in your deck as long as you've done at least 1 deck search. So you can make this decision. You can decide whether it's worth it. A lot of the time it will be, some of the time it won't. And look, we've got other supporters. At the moment, we've got Cynthia, shuffle your hand into your deck, draw 6. We've got Lily, draw until you've got 6 cards remaining. We've got Erica's Hospitality. As long as you've got 4 or fewer other cards in your hand, you draw 1 card for each Pokemon your opponent's got on the field. We've got Tate and Liza, which is Cynthia, but you only draw 5, but it could also be a switch if you prefer. Do we need Hapu? And the thing is, I think sometimes we do. Because it's a very aggressive card. You get to look at more cards with Hapu than you do with basically any other supporter. Cynthia, you shuffle your hand into your deck and draw 6. Now, if you've got 0 cards in hand, this is just better. But otherwise, it's not. Lily, if you've got 0 cards in hand, this is better. Otherwise, it's not. Erica's Hospitality, if your opponent's got 6 Pokemon in play and you've got 4 or fewer other cards in hand, it's better, but otherwise it's not. But you see, I keep talking about this discard as if it might be a bad thing. It might be a good thing. Because you see, there's plenty of decks out there that want energy in the discard. Naganadel decks, Malamar decks, they need energy in the discard in order to get rolling. I mean, things like a Alolan Executor, 20 extra damage for each different type of basic energy in your discard pile, it's going to love this. It's going to adore it, ladies and gentlemen. And then we've got stuff like the Zoroark from Team Up that does more damage for each Pokemon in your discard pile. This is about the best way to quickly get all this stuff in your discard. Something like Vespiquen Expanded can really love this, because you can just be discarding 5 or 6 different Pokemon, be doing 50 or 60 extra damage. It's really very, very good. The other thing is, you got to think about what you're playing. If you're playing a bunch of Prism Star cards, let's say you're playing Diancie Prism Star and you're playing Beast Energy, and they're both still in your deck, do you want to risk it? Probably not. If you're really relying on special energy like triple acceleration energy, you probably don't want to risk this, because if you hit too many of them, there's no coming back. You can't recover them. But if you're worried about supporters, play Powpad. If you're worried about Pokemon or energy, play Brock's Grit. Or play Energy Recycle System, though that is just for energy. And it really comes down to, can you afford to do the discard? Because if you've got too many cards that you cannot put in the discard, you can't play this card. It's too risky, it's not worth it, don't do it. But if you really want to hyper-aggressively set up, this is a good card. If you want to hyper-aggressively get stuff in a discard, this is a good card. If you don't mind discarding stuff, This is a good card, generally speaking, if you can recover it easily. I mean, look, Misty's Determination, you had to discard a card from your hand and then look at the top 8 and you could only get one card, and that was really good. That saw play. I'm not saying this is going to be a staple 4 of in every single deck. That's ludicrous. I am saying that this will see play in a whole bunch of decks, and I believe this very sincerely. I think this is a really, really good card. Perfect? No. But really good. I'm giving this between 4 and 5 Wassies. It's a great card. It's just another draw supporter. No, it's not going to replace Cynthia as a 4 of in every deck. I just said that. But it is going to make it into a whole bunch of decks, and I feel confident there are going to be some decks that will prefer this because they want to be aggressive, want to discard, etc. But I'd like to know what you think, so please do let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, be nice, and then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWassie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassiePlays, where we talk about games that don't have Pokemon in. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.